I still remember that day, the cold smell of damp earth, the echo of footsteps fading above me, and the click of a lock that sealed my fate. My own son, the boy I carried for 9 months, the child whose fevered head I cooled with trembling hands, had locked me in the basement. He didn't even look back. I was sitting on an old wooden chair when it happened. The argument had started like many others. He was angry, furious, in fact. The inheritance papers, the will, the house, everything had twisted him into someone I barely recognized. His wife stood beside him, eyes cold, lips pressed tight. "Mom," he said through gritted teeth, "you need rest. You're not thinking straight anymore." Before I could even speak, he guided me down the creaking stairs. My knees hurt, but I didn't protest. I thought maybe he wanted to fix something in the basement, or store away old boxes. I trusted him. After all, I was his mother. Then the door slammed. And I heard the click. "Michael?" I called out, heart pounding. No reply. Just silence, thick and heavy. The dim bulb flickered above me. Dust danced in the air. I waited, 10 minutes, 20, maybe an hour. He would come back, I thought. He had to. But he didn't. I tried the door. It was locked tight. My fingers trembled as I banged on the wood. "Michael, please!" I shouted. "It's your mother." Only muffled footsteps upstairs, and then the sound of laughter. His wife's laughter. That's when the truth hit me like a stone. They had done this on purpose. Time passed. I lost track of hours. The only light was that weak bulb swinging overhead. My throat dried, my voice cracked, but my mind kept racing through every memory: the day I taught him to walk, the night he cried after his father's funeral, the countless birthdays where I stayed up just to see him smile. Where had I gone wrong? It wasn't just pain that filled me, it was disbelief. The kind that shatters something inside you forever. I sat on the cold floor and whispered, "You'll come back for me, won't you, Michael?" The walls swallowed my words. Hours turned into what felt like days. I don't know how long I was down there. There was an old fridge in the corner, unplugged, and a few jars of preserved fruit. I ate sparingly, saving what I could. And in that silence, I began to hear things. Soft, distant, whispers. At first, I thought it was the creak of pipes. But then it became clearer. A faint voice. A child's giggle. A sigh that wasn't mine. Halfway through the first night, I heard something move behind the old storage shelves. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. "Who's there?" I whispered. Silence again. Then, a soft knock. Just one. Then another. 3 gentle knocks from the shadows. I crawled toward the corner, the cold cement biting my hands. There was a crack in the wall, small but deep, and behind it, something glimmered. I didn't dare touch it. Instead, I whispered, "If there's someone there, please. I won't hurt you." The light flickered. And the air turned colder. Before I tell you what I saw next, let me ask you something, my dear listener. If your own child, the one you gave everything to, suddenly turned against you, would you still forgive them? Or would you wait, silently, for fate to teach them a lesson? Tell me in the comments below, because I want to know how your heart would decide. The days blurred after that. My body was weak, but something inside me refused to die. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my late husband, Robert. He used to work in this very basement, fixing pipes, repairing shelves. One night, he told me, "If anything ever happens, I've hidden something here, something important." I thought he was joking. But now, I wasn't so sure. I searched. My frail hands brushed through dust, cobwebs, and old boxes. Under one, I found a piece of torn fabric, a child's blanket. Not ours. Strange. Then I saw the marks on the wall, scratches, like someone had tried to escape before. That's when I realized I wasn't the first person to be locked down here. The thought made my blood run cold. And then I heard it again, that same soft giggle. A child's voice, echoing faintly through the dark corner. "Who's there?" I whispered again, barely breathing. No reply. Only a faint hum, like someone singing an old lullaby. A song I knew. A song I used to sing to Michael when he was little. Tears filled my eyes. "Who's singing that?" I said, my voice shaking. The bulb above me flickered twice, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. And from the corner of the room, I heard footsteps. Slow. Small. Getting closer. That was the first night. And it was the night I learned I wasn't alone in that basement. When the light went out, I felt the world disappear with it. It was so dark, I couldn't even see my hands. Just the smell of damp wood and the sound of my heartbeat, fast, uneven, terrified. And then, from somewhere deep in the corner, came a faint whisper. Soft. Childlike. Fragile. "Don't cry." My breath caught. I froze completely. For a moment, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, that the hunger and exhaustion had made me hallucinate. But then it came again. "Don't cry, Grandma." I pressed my back against the cold wall. The voice sounded real. But how could that be? There was no child down here. No one but me. "Who's there?" I asked, my voice shaking. No answer, just the faint hum of that same lullaby again, drifting softly through the air. The light flickered back on for a split second, long enough for me to see the basement again, the boxes, the cracked wall, the old furnace in the corner, and then darkness swallowed it all once more. But in that split second, I saw her. A little girl, no more than 7, standing barefoot in the far corner. Her dress was white but stained with dirt, her hair tangled, her eyes wide, not menacing, but sad. She looked straight at me. And then she vanished. I must have screamed, because my throat burned. I backed away until my shoulders hit the stairs. I tried the door again, still locked. "Michael!" I cried. "Please, open this door." "Michael!" But no one came. I sat down, shaking. Maybe I'd finally lost my mind. Maybe this was what betrayal did, it broke something inside your soul until your own memories turned into ghosts. But the sound came again, soft footsteps circling the basement, slow and deliberate. "I'm not going to hurt you," I whispered. "I just want to know who you are." The air turned icy cold. And then, I heard her, right beside my ear. "He hurt me too." My skin turned to ice. "What do you mean?" I asked, tears welling up. "Who hurt you?" But she didn't answer. Instead, the light above me flickered back to life, dim, trembling. And on the dusty floor, I saw small footprints, leading from the wall to the center of the room. Tiny, wet footprints. I followed them with trembling hands until they stopped near an old chest. The chest had always been there, but I'd never bothered to open it. Its lock was rusted, its wood cracked from time. I found a loose nail on the floor and used it to pry the latch open. Inside were old newspapers, broken toys, and a photograph. It was a picture of my son, Michael, maybe 8 years old, standing beside a little girl I didn't recognize. They were smiling, holding ice cream cones. But there was something strange in the background, the same basement door, slightly open. I flipped the photo over. On the back, in faded blue ink, it read, "Michael and Lily, summer 1992. Lily? I had never known a Lily. For hours, I sat with that photo in my lap, trying to make sense of it. My son was born in 1987. In 1992, he was 5. But who was this little girl? Why did her voice echo in my basement 30 years later? I leaned my head against the wall and whispered, "Lily, are you still here?" The light flickered again, once, twice, and I felt a hand. Cold. Small. Resting on mine. And then her voice, soft, broken, whispered, "He lied to you, Grandma." I gasped and turned, but no one was there. Only the faint sound of crying, a child's sobs, fading into the walls. He lied to you. The words echoed in my head over and over. What had my son done? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's face, pale, hollow, yet heartbreakingly innocent. And deep down, something inside me began to change. Fear turned into curiosity. Curiosity turned into anger. I began searching the basement again, inch by inch. I tapped the walls, checked the floorboards, lifted every box. Until, finally, I found something behind the furnace, a small wooden door, half-rotted, hidden behind pipes. It wasn't big enough for an adult. But for a child, yes. It looked like a hiding place. I crawled closer, brushing off the dust. My fingers touched something carved into the wood, words, scratched by tiny hands. Please don't let him find me. My heart stopped. I pressed my ear to the little door. Silence. Then a faint heartbeat, or maybe it was my own. I sat there for hours, my back against that little door, thinking of all the nights I had tucked Michael into bed, kissed his forehead, told him monsters weren't real. But what if I was wrong? What if the real monster was the one who had locked me down here? And then something hit me like lightning, the year 1992. That was the same summer Michael's teacher had called me, saying a classmate had gone missing. A little girl from his school. Her name had been Lily. They never found her body. I remembered asking Michael about it back then, and he just shrugged, said he didn't know her that well. But now, that picture. That voice. Those words carved into the wood. Could it be? No. No, it couldn't. The bulb flickered again, bright and harsh. I stood up, clutching the photo to my chest. And that's when I heard the lock above me rattle. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. He was back. I stepped back toward the stairs, shaking. My son's voice called down, "Mother? Are you awake?" I didn't answer. He opened the door slightly, just enough for a thin beam of light to spill down the steps. He was smiling. But it wasn't the smile of a son. It was the smile of someone who knew I'd discovered something I shouldn't have. "Mom," he said softly. "You've been busy, haven't you?" I looked up at him, tears and fury burning in my eyes. "Michael," I whispered, "who was Lily?" His smile vanished. His face turned pale. And without a word, he slammed the door shut again. The lock clicked. And this time, I heard him whisper through the wood. "Don't talk to her again." The moment I heard that lock click again, my entire body went numb. Michael's voice, the son I once held to my chest, the boy whose first word was "Mama," had turned into something else entirely. There was no love in his tone anymore. Only control. And fear. Not mine, his. I sat in silence for a long time after he left. I could still hear his footsteps pacing upstairs. Maybe he was talking to his wife, or maybe just to himself. But every now and then, his words drifted through the cracks in the floorboards. "She knows, she's seen something. I told you we should have sealed it years ago." That sentence, "sealed it," repeated in my head until it made me sick. What did he mean by it? I turned toward the small wooden door again, the one behind the furnace, half-rotted and covered in dust. The words carved into it seemed to glow now. "Please don't let him find me." I knelt beside it, pressing my trembling fingers along the edges. The wood gave way easily. When I pulled, a gust of cold air rushed out, damp, stale, heavy with secrets. Behind the door was a narrow passage, barely wide enough for me to crawl through. It was pitch black, but I didn't care. I needed to know. I grabbed the old flashlight from the workbench. It flickered weakly, but it worked. And then I went in. The tunnel stretched farther than I expected. The ground was uneven, the air colder the deeper I went. The walls were lined with old bricks, cracked and crumbling. I had to crawl on my hands and knees like a child again, only this time, I was crawling toward the truth. After maybe 20 feet, the tunnel opened into a small chamber. My flashlight caught something glinting in the corner, a rusted metal box. I crawled to it and forced the lid open. Inside were papers, yellowed and fragile. I held one up and gasped. It was a missing persons flyer. Lily Andrews, age 6. Missing since August 12, 1992. Last seen near Maple Street. The girl in the picture was the same little girl from the photo with Michael. My hands began to shake uncontrollably. I flipped through the other papers, all police reports, all unsolved. Every page told the same story: a child vanished, no clues, no closure. And inside that box was something else, something that made me scream. A small white shoe. I dropped it, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd faint. And then I heard it, that same soft humming again. The lullaby. The one I used to sing to Michael. Only now, someone else was singing it back to me. I turned my flashlight toward the sound. At the far end of the chamber, there was something carved into the brick, faint letters, but still readable under the beam. He promised I'd go home. My throat closed up. Tears blurred my eyes. That's when I realized Lily had never left this house. And my son had known. I backed out of the tunnel, shaking so badly I could barely breathe. I stumbled into the basement again, coughing, gasping for air. How could he? How could my own child, my boy, be connected to something this dark? But deep down, I already knew the answer. I'd always known Michael wasn't like other children. When he was little, he'd hide for hours in this very basement. I thought it was because he missed his father, or because he was lonely. But now I remembered something. The day Lily went missing, he came home with a scrape on his cheek and mud on his shoes. He said he'd been playing near the woods. I believed him. Because mothers always believe their sons. And now that belief had trapped me here, in the same house that had hidden his secret for 30 years. I sat against the wall, hugging myself. My heart felt too heavy to beat. Then I heard the basement door open again. "Mother," he called down softly. "Are you awake?" I didn't answer. He stepped halfway down the stairs, holding a tray. "I brought you food." He sounded calm, even gentle. But his eyes, when the light hit them, were hollow. He set the tray down on the bottom step and stared at me. "Why did you go behind the furnace?" I said nothing. His jaw tightened. "You saw it, didn't you?" I whispered. "Who was she, Michael?" He looked away. "You wouldn't understand." "Try me," I said. "She was a mistake," he muttered. "She wouldn't stop crying. She said she'd tell her mother." My whole body went cold. "You were 5 years old," I whispered. "I didn't mean to," he shouted suddenly, his voice cracking. "I just wanted her to stop." Silence filled the air. His shoulders trembled, and for a moment I saw it, the frightened little boy he used to be. But then his face hardened again. "I buried her down there. Father helped me seal it. He told me never to speak of it again." I stared at him in horror. "Your father?" He nodded. "He was afraid they'd take me away. Said one mistake shouldn't ruin a life. So he built the wall. He made sure no one ever found out." My tears came in waves. I pressed my hands to my face, unable to breathe. "Your father died protecting a lie," I whispered. "And now you've locked me here to protect it too?" He didn't answer. Instead, he picked up the tray and turned toward the stairs. "You won't tell anyone, Mom," he said coldly. "You're too weak. You'll stay down here until I decide what to do with you." And then he left. The lock clicked. But this time, I didn't cry. Because I knew something he didn't. I wasn't alone anymore. That night, when the lights went out again, the air shifted. The temperature dropped, and the faint scent of lilies filled the room, sweet, soft, familiar. And from the corner near the furnace, I saw her. Lily. She stood quietly, her pale face glowing in the dark. Her small hands reached toward me. "Help me," she whispered. "Make him remember." I wiped my tears and nodded. "I will, sweetheart. I promise." Her expression softened. And for the first time since I'd been locked away, I didn't feel afraid. Because Lily wasn't just a ghost. She was justice waiting to be set free. The night after Michael confessed was colder than any before. I could feel the air shifting, heavy with memories that weren't mine. The basement no longer felt empty, it breathed, it remembered, it waited. Every sound carried a story now. The creak of the pipes. The moan of the floorboards. Even the quiet hum of the old furnace felt alive. And I knew Lily was awake. I barely slept. My heart raced at every whisper, but this time I didn't hide from it. I wanted to understand. I wanted to give that little soul what she'd been denied for decades, peace. But as I sat there in the flickering light, I began to hear another sound, footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from above. Michael. He was pacing again. I could hear his voice through the cracks in the floor. He wasn't calm anymore. His words tumbled out in panicked bursts. "She knows, she saw her. I swear I heard her singing again. No, it's just my mind. Just my mind." His wife's voice murmured something, but I couldn't make it out. All I knew was that fear had finally begun to eat him alive. Good. The next morning, he came down with food again, toast and coffee, though the smell of it made my stomach twist. He tried to act normal. "How are you feeling today, Mom?" he asked, forcing a smile. I looked straight into his eyes. "You're not sleeping, are you?" His smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "You hear her too, don't you?" I whispered. He froze. "She's not in your head, Michael. She's in this house. She's been waiting for you." "Stop it," he snapped. His hands trembled as he set the tray down. "You're trying to make me crazy." "No," I said softly. "I think your guilt already did that." He turned and stormed up the stairs, slamming the door behind him. The sound of the lock clicking echoed through the basement, but this time, it didn't make me feel trapped. Because now I understood something. He wasn't the jailer anymore. He was the prisoner. That night, I sat near the furnace again. The small door behind it seemed to pulse faintly, as though it had a heartbeat. I placed my hand on it and whispered, "I'm here, Lily." The air grew cold. My breath came out in white clouds. And then her voice, gentle, trembling, filled the room. "He's scared." "Yes," I said. "He should be. Will you help me?" My throat tightened. "What do you want me to do?" "Make him remember." Those 3 words echoed like thunder. And then she was gone. The next morning, I woke to shouting. Michael's voice. Upstairs. Panicked. "I told you I didn't touch it." The picture wasn't there last night. His wife shouted back, "Then how is it on the table, Michael?" "How?" I smiled faintly. Lily was playing her part. A few minutes later, the basement door opened again, but this time his steps were slow, hesitant. His eyes darted around the room as though expecting to see something. "Mom," his voice cracked. "Did you move anything in the house?" I shook my head. He rubbed his temples. The picture of me and Lily. It was in my study last night. This morning, it was on my nightstand. I stared at him silently. "I burned it," he whispered. "I burned it years ago." My eyes widened. "Then how did it come back?" He backed away slowly. "Stop looking at me like that." "I told you, Michael. She remembers." He slammed the tray down and ran upstairs, locking the door so hard the frame rattled. But that night, I heard him crying. The house began to change after that. I could hear him walking through the halls at all hours, muttering to himself, pleading with someone who never answered. Once, I heard him scream her name, Lily. Followed by the sound of glass shattering. And then came the knocking. Every night, at exactly 3:07 a.m., 3 slow knocks echoed through the floorboards above me, soft, deliberate, and rhythmic. Michael would shout for it to stop. His wife would beg him to calm down. But it never stopped. It got louder. By the third night, even I could hear her walking upstairs. Her tiny feet padded along the hallway, pausing at each door. Sometimes she giggled softly, the same way she had in the basement. And every time, Michael would shout, "Leave me alone." But the thing about guilt, it never leaves. It only waits for silence to speak. That night, I whispered through the floorboards, "Lily, it's time." And as if she heard me, the whole house went still. No creaking. No voices. Nothing but silence. Then, a single loud crash. Followed by Michael's scream. I ran to the stairs, pounding the locked door with my fists. "Michael! What happened?" No answer. Only the sound of footsteps running out the front door. Morning came slowly. The lock didn't open, but I could hear whispers outside, voices, unfamiliar ones. Police. They were talking to Michael's wife. "I swear, officer, the lights just turned on by themselves," she cried. "The old picture, the one he said he burned, it was nailed to the wall this morning. He's gone." He ran out screaming that she's here. The officer sighed. "Ma'am, we'll do a welfare check. Maybe he just needs rest." They left soon after. But as soon as I was alone again, I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Only, they weren't heavy like Michael's. They were soft. Light. And when the door opened, without a sound, Lily stood there. She wasn't pale anymore. Her hair fell neatly around her shoulders, her dress white and clean. She smiled at me, the kind of smile a grandchild gives when they feel safe. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" I asked. "For believing me." She reached out her hand, and when I took it, warmth spread through me, soft, calm, almost heavenly. "Don't be afraid," she said. "It's almost over." Then she turned toward the stairs. "He's coming back. But this time, he'll see me." And that's when I realized what she meant. She didn't want revenge. She wanted truth. But truth has a way of destroying those who hide from it.